Ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens of controlled chaos, sovereigns of psychological warfare, renegades who learned long ago that survival is an art and dominance is a science, welcome back to the arena you were never supposed to escape. Today, we are not here to celebrate some minor victory or half-hearted transformation. Today we are here because you did something none of them, not the critics, not the pretenders, not the self-appointed gatekeepers of ambition, ever imagined you'd pull off. You didn't join their precious little game, you mastered it. You didn't walk into the city, you took it hostage. And now the whole damn skyline is trembling because you're shutting down the entire ecosystem with a move so precise, so surgical, so uncomfortably brilliant that the architects of the system don't know whether to admire you or file a complaint with the universe for allowing you to exist. Let me ask you something. Do you feel that pulse? That voltage humming beneath your ribs like you swallowed a power plant? That's not adrenaline. That's the sensation of someone who realized, finally, unapologetically, that the rules were written by cowards who never expected a mind like yours to show up. Most people wander through life hoping the game will treat them kindly. They pray for opportunities, beg for validation, plead for someone to hand them permission slips to be great. Meanwhile, you watched all of that nonsense unfold with the kind of stillness predators have before impact. You studied the grid, you learned the angles, you tracked the patterns, you observed how the city breathes, how the system manipulates, how the weak cling to illusions, and then you rewired the entire blueprint behind their backs. And that's what terrifies them. Because you didn't come in swinging wildly, or announcing your intentions like some theatrical villain desperate for attention. No, you moved like a shadow, with a doctorate in strategy. You walked in quietly, looked the game dead in the eye, and said, "Oh, this? I thought it would be harder." And the moment you did, the system shuddered. Because systems don't fear rebels. Systems fear masters. Systems fear the one person who stops participating. Systems fear the one player who realizes the board only exists because they keep showing up to move pieces around. You see, the city was designed to contain dreamers, not unleash them. It was built like a psychological labyrinth, mirrors to confuse you, detours to distract you, sirens to seduce you into complacency. Most people run through it blindfolded, bumping into walls, calling it destiny. But you memorized the maze. You identified every false exit. You spotted every trap disguised as a reward. While the others got drunk on the illusion of progress, you dissected the structure until you found the weakness that nobody, not even the self-proclaimed masterminds, noticed. And once you found it, you didn't expose it. You didn't warn them. You didn't negotiate with the system. You grabbed that weak point like a handle and pulled the entire city into your grip. That's why everything's shutting down. Not because you're trying to cause destruction, but because the foundation wasn't strong enough to withstand someone who actually sees the truth. When power meets clarity, collapse is not rebellion, it's inevitability. Think about this. Every empire, every structure, every hierarchy eventually faces a single question. What happens when someone refuses to play by the psychological script? And right now, the city is facing that question because of you. They designed this environment for predictable minds, for citizens who follow instructions, for souls content with tiny victories and carefully rationed achievements. They didn't anticipate someone who would decode the machine, break into the control room, and sit down in the operator's seat like it always belonged to them. You didn't just level up, you evolved out of the game's jurisdiction, And here's the beautiful part. You didn't do it out of rage, or desperation, or spite. You did it because your spirit outgrew the old architecture. There comes a moment when the cage stops feeling like imprisonment and starts feeling like irritation. A moment when the mask you wore to survive becomes too tight. A moment when you realize the game isn't challenging enough to contain your intelligence anymore. And that moment, that snapping point of internal clarity, is exactly what turned you into the threat the city whispers about now. Let me paint this picture for you. The game wasn't scared when you started. It wasn't scared when you failed. It wasn't scared when you struggled, crumbled, rebuilt, restructured, and rose again. The game was scared when you stopped needing it. Because once you detach emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, the game loses its influence. You stop responding to bait. You stop reacting to distractions. You stop participating in performances designed to keep you predictable. And once predictability dies, power shifts. That's when you became the problem the city can't solve. You're not just shutting down the city in the dramatic, apocalyptic, narrative sense. You're shutting it down psychologically. You're pulling the plug on every system that depended on your compliance. The moment someone with your potential stops absorbing the city's illusions, the matrix flickers, the machine overheats, the guards panic, the manipulators lose their script, because everything they built was designed for a version of you who no longer exists. The city is not collapsing because you attacked it. It's collapsing because you outgrew it. This is the part that rattles them the hardest. You didn't dominate the game by force. You dominated it through comprehension. Understanding is the final form of power. Once you understand something deeply enough, you can dismantle it without breaking a sweat. You can bend its rules without effort. You can slip between its gears like smoke and short-circuit the entire engine. They think you're being reckless, but you're being inevitable. Picture the skyline flickering. Picture the traffic freezing mid-movement. Picture boardrooms going silent. Picture manipulators losing control over the very people they used to puppeteer. That's what happens when one person wakes up fully. Your awakening created a chain reaction, a systemic malfunction that the city wasn't designed to survive. The city depended on you being unaware of your own leverage. But awareness is a dangerous drug, and you overdosed intentionally. Let's go deeper. When you truly master the game, you stop fearing collapse because you realize collapse is a doorway, not a punishment. The old world falling apart is not chaos. It's clearance. It's space. It's demolition that makes room for a structure worthy of you. Most people cling to systems because they fear uncertainty. But you wield uncertainty like a conductor's baton. You turn unpredictability into an advantage. You treat disruption like oxygen. That's why the city can't handle you. You're not just breaking norms. You're redefining them. You're not bending rules. You're dissolving them. You're not escaping the system. You're rewriting the operating manual while the system watches helplessly. And let's not pretend this transformation was accidental. You earned this through pressure, through pain, through observation, through losses that were actually data, through experiences that taught you what the city tried to hide. Every time someone underestimated you, you collected the information. Every time someone dismissed you, you stored the pattern. Every time someone tried to limit you, you mapped the boundary. You used everything, every insult, every setback, every betrayal, as intelligence for a much bigger operation. You weren't growing, you were sharpening. So now the city watches you walk through its streets with a presence that interrupts gravity itself. You don't have to announce what you're doing. Your energy does the announcement for you. People sense that something has shifted, that someone has slipped out of the simulation and is now walking freely through its infrastructure. You don't just intimidate individuals, you intimidate systems. Your silence is louder than their authority. Your detachment is more dangerous than their surveillance. Your clarity is more lethal than their rules. And the funniest part, you didn't even come here to destroy anything. You came here to exist on your own terms. The destruction is simply the side effect of a power that refuses to shrink anymore. You've mastered the game so thoroughly that you no longer fit inside it. You're operating from an altitude where the city's laws can't reach you. And the higher you rise, the more the city destabilizes. Because the city relied on you being grounded, predictable, restrained. But you stepped into a psychological stratosphere where their limitations cannot breathe. You're not shutting down the city because you're angry. You're shutting it down because you're done pretending. You didn't join the game. You placed the entire city in checkmate without touching a single piece. Your existence is the move. Your evolution is the threat. Your awareness is the weapon. And now, the city watches helplessly as you dismantle everything they thought was permanent. And here's the part they will never admit out loud. They always sensed this moment was coming. Every time you outmaneuvered a situation you weren't supposed to survive, every time you walked away from a trap without a scratch, every time you saw through manipulation that was designed to blind entire groups, they felt it. They felt the system bending around you. They felt reality glitch slightly when you stepped into a room. They felt the game lose its grip the moment you stopped playing by instinct and started playing by insight. You didn't just rise, you shifted the gravitational field. And now everything in the city pulls toward you, shaking, recalibrating, panicking because the center of power is no longer where they placed it. Understand something. When you master a system built to suppress you, your ascent becomes a structural threat. Not because you're destroying anything deliberately, but because your presence forces truth into places designed to hide it. You expose the blueprint simply by existing. You illuminate the cracks without lifting a finger. You destabilize corruption by refusing to kneel. They built this city on illusions, money, status, hierarchy, fear, and you shattered every single one by doing what nobody expected, thinking clearly. Humans fear clarity more than chaos, because clarity destroys excuses. Clarity exposes the invisible chains. Clarity forces people to confront the role they played in their own imprisonment. And you walk with clarity like it's oxygen. That's why the city trembles. The citizens feel a shift in the atmosphere, something silent but undeniable. They look around and sense an invisible presence moving through the streets. Your presence, not loud, not theatrical, but sovereign. You don't need noise. You don't need a platform. You don't need a spotlight. Your aura alone is an announcement. The city knows when someone has stepped out of the simulation. When someone stops being predictable, the system starts dying. Because predictability is the oxygen the city breathes. And you suffocated it the moment you stopped responding to its illusions. This is what they never understood. The game isn't about winning. It's about outgrowing. Winning keeps you trapped inside the board, fighting for trophies designed to distract you. But outgrowing dissolves the board itself. You stopped chasing achievements and started chasing truth. You stopped seeking acceptance and started seeking alignment. You stopped performing for the crowd and started operating for your own evolution. That's when the game lost control of you. That's when you became the anomaly the system wasn't coded to contain. People think shutting down a city happens through riots, chaos, rebellion. But the real shutdown begins internally. The moment you reject the identities they forced on you. The moment you abandon the desires they planted in your mind. The moment you step outside the narratives they programmed into society. Everything collapses. The system relies on your agreement, your participation, your belief. Once you withdraw those, the machine stutters. When the main power source unplugs itself, the lights go out. You didn't destroy the city, you unplugged from it. Look back for a moment, not to dwell, but to witness the transformation. There was a time when the city convinced you that the game was bigger than you, that you were one small piece in a massive, unshakable structure. But now you see the truth. The structure was paper-thin. The walls were imaginary. The limitations were inherited, not chosen. The city wasn't powerful. You were just asleep. And once you woke up, the entire architecture lost its authority. When you strip illusions away, structures built on manipulation collapse instantly. You walk through those streets now like someone who knows the codes, the shortcuts, the blind spots. Like someone who understands every psychological trick the system uses to keep people chasing a life they don't want. And that's why people look at you differently. They can't put their finger on it, but they know something in your energy carries a warning. Not a threat, an inevitability. A quiet hum of, I don't belong to your script anymore. And people who don't belong to the script end up rewriting the story entirely. Do you realize what kind of power that is? To exist in a world that no longer has access to your mind. To walk through a system that can't manipulate you anymore. To observe the city's games unfolding and think, this is too easy. That level of psychological freedom turns you into a phenomenon. You become unpredictable, ungovernable, uncontainable. The city can't track you because your decisions no longer come from fear or validation. They come from sovereignty. And sovereignty is terrifying to any structure built on obedience. You didn't just take the city hostage, you took the narrative hostage. The game depended on you believing you needed it. Once you stopped believing that lie, the game crumbled like a forgotten prophecy. The people who once felt superior now study you like a puzzle. The ones who dismissed you now watch your every move. The ones who underestimated you now feel something foreign in their chest whenever your name is mentioned. Discomfort. Because your rise forces them to confront their stagnation. Your transformation shines a light on the places they refused to grow. But here's the twist. The city's panic isn't about you rising too fast. It's about you rising too intelligently. Anyone can climb. Very few evolve. And evolution is what terrifies the architects of the system. They designed the city to reward effort, not awareness. But awareness creates a kind of dominance no system can manage. When you see the truth behind the curtain, the puppeteer loses their power. When you understand the mechanics of control, the controller becomes irrelevant. When you become conscious of your own role in the structure collapses. Right now, you're walking through a reality that's cracking under the weight of who you've become. Opportunities bending toward you. People rearranging themselves around your presence. Old obstacles dissolving because they no longer match your frequency. The city feels like it's shrinking because you've expanded beyond its scale. You're too large for a map designed for small minds. Too aware for a system built on distraction. Too awakened for a world that thrives on sleep. And the city can feel it in ways words can't describe. Energy shifts. People hush when you enter. Conversations pause. Assumptions break, patterns malfunction. You're not a character in their story anymore. You're the variable that ruins the equation, the force that destabilizes every structure built on the assumption that you'd remain ordinary. The city expected resistance. It expected rebellion. It never expected evolution, because evolution cannot be stopped. Evolution does not negotiate. Evolution does not bow. That's why the shutdown is happening faster than they can understand. You're no longer feeding energy into the system. You're no longer contributing to its illusions. You're no longer participating in the rituals that keep everyone trapped. Your withdrawal is their downfall. You are the missing piece that held everything together. Now that piece is gone. The city is collapsing under its own artificial weight. Your absence is the shutdown. Your awareness is the blackout. Your transformation is the hostage situation. And the best part, you haven't even begun to apply pressure yet. You're only stepping into your new altitude. The air is cold, but it's clean. The perspective is sharp. From up here, you don't just see the city, you see through it. You see the cracks, the flaws, the hypocrisy, the hollow centers. And you know with a certainty that borders on prophecy that you're not here to restore anything. You're here to redefine everything. Not with violence, but with presence. Not with chaos, but with clarity. Not with force, but with truth. Because when truth enters a system built on deception, collapse is not aggression, it is physics. And collapse is exactly what's unfolding now, silently, beautifully, inevitably, as the city struggles to breathe in the new atmosphere you created simply by rising. This is the moment where your mastery stops being an internal shift and becomes a gravitational law. You're no longer a participant inside the city's framework. You've become the axis the city now orbits around, without understanding why its own seasons are changing. People who once walked with confidence now hesitate because they sense a rebalancing of power that no announcement, no headline, no broadcast could ever articulate. You're not shutting down the city by force. The city is shutting itself down under the weight of your awakened presence. Systems aren't collapsing because you attacked them. They're collapsing because you outgrew them so completely that their foundations can no longer accommodate your magnitude. You walk through the world now with an aura that twists the psychological landscape. Streetlights feel dimmer next to you. Conversations feel quieter in your proximity. Rooms feel smaller when you enter because you've eclipsed the mental boundaries that once trapped you. The city doesn't know what to do with someone who operates from altitude, someone who doesn't play for approval, someone who doesn't chase validation, someone who doesn't bow to fear. The city was engineered to handle rebels, activists, competitors, but it wasn't built to handle someone who simply transcends. You didn't break their rules, you made them irrelevant. And that irrelevance is what terrifies them. They built entire infrastructures based on the assumption that people would remain predictable, malleable, eager to obey. But now you stand here like a walking contradiction to everything the system counted on. You're not reacting emotionally. You're not bargaining for position. You're not fighting for rank. You're not scrambling for approval. You're moving with the detached confidence of someone who already won before the game even started. And when someone carries that type of internal certainty, the entire environment begins adjusting itself around their frequency. This is where most people misunderstand power. They think it's about assertion, dominance, aggression. But real power is atmospheric. Real power is silent. Real power alters reality simply by existing inside it. You've become that type of phenomenon. an unspoken equation the city is desperately trying to solve. They don't understand how you dismantled the game without participating in it. They don't understand how you took the entire city hostage without making a single demand. They don't understand how someone can rise without seeking permission. But that's because they've never witnessed what true autonomy looks like. You're not controlled by the external world anymore. You're sculpting it. Look around, really look. Do you notice how different the city feels now? Not physically, but energetically. People look over their shoulders more. Authorities double-check decisions. Influential figures hesitate longer before speaking. It's because your presence has become a psychological event. You're not threatening them. Your very existence forces them to confront their own limitations. It reminds them that mastery is possible, and that the game they worshipped was a tiny arena compared to the battlefield you're operating on. Your transformation exposes the truth they never wanted to acknowledge. The city isn't powerful. The city is fragile, and you proved it by walking beyond its illusions like they were cobwebs. You took the city hostage the moment you realized you didn't need it. Because dependence is what fuels systems. When you withdrew your dependence, you withdrew the city's power supply. The city feels empty now because you stopped feeding it. It feels unstable because you stopped supporting it. It feels threatened because you stopped believing in the myths that kept everyone compliant. The city never feared losing control of you. It feared you realizing you were never controlled in the first place. This is the psychological takeover that happens when someone reaches your level. You stop chasing goals and start embodying inevitability. You stop running after opportunities and start creating gravitational pulls. You stop fighting battles and start choosing landscapes. You stop negotiating with the world and start directing it, not because you force it, but because your internal authority becomes irrefutable. Mastery isn't loud. Mastery isn't dramatic. Mastery is the moment the world sees you and instinctively recalibrates its expectations. They're recalibrating right now. The city is rewriting its assumptions in real time because your existence invalidates its previous calculations. People who once dismissed you now hesitate before making a move, afraid you see something they don't. People who once felt superior now shrink under the weight of your silence. People who once played with you now treat you like a variable they can't afford to misinterpret. That's what happens when someone rises into their higher identity. They don't need to speak. They become the atmosphere itself. And that's exactly why the city is shutting down. Entire systems built on arrogance and assumption are realizing they were never the architects. They were placeholders. You are the architect now. You are the blueprint. You are the rupture in the simulation. And whether the city wants to accept it or not, everything is reorganizing around you because you changed the frequency on which the game operates. Understand this deeply. When someone like you awakens, the city doesn't just lose power, it loses direction. The system depended on guiding you. Now it waits for you. Every eye that once looked down on you now looks up without knowing why. Every barrier that once felt insurmountable now crumbles before you arrive. Every whisper that once doubted you now repeats your name with caution. That's the psychological rearrangement mastery causes. You didn't take the city hostage physically, you took it hostage existentially, and yet you're still only getting started. This altitude you're stepping into is just the threshold. You're not flying yet. You're preparing. You're calibrating. You're shedding the final remnants of the identity that once tolerated limitations. You're aligning with who you were always meant to be, the version of you that the city hoped would never wake up. They didn't fear your ambition, they feared your clarity. Because ambition is something they can manipulate. But clarity is untouchable. Clarity is uncontrollable. Clarity is the moment the cage becomes transparent. And once you see the bars, you can't unsee them. You're moving differently now. You're thinking at velocities the city was never structured to handle. You've become a psychological supernova, quiet on the surface, catastrophic underneath. Not because you're destructive, but because everything around you was built on false assumptions. And truth is the most destabilizing force in existence. That's why your rise feels like an earthquake to everyone else. They're not responding to your actions. They're responding to your authenticity. They're not terrified of your power. They're terrified of what your power reveals about their weakness. But here's the irony they can't escape. Every time they try to understand you, they fall further behind. Because you're evolving at speeds that leave the city gasping. You're not walking the same blueprint anymore. You're transcending the need for blueprints entirely. You're not following the map, they're following your shadow. And they don't even realize it yet. Their panic isn't about losing control, it's about losing relevance. And as this shutdown accelerates, as the city's illusions flicker, as the old world gasps for breath, something new begins forming in the distance. Not chaos, not collapse, but reconstruction. A reconstruction orchestrated by someone who outgrew the game so completely that the only logical next step is to build an environment worthy of their altitude. This is the phase the city feared the most, because collapse can be explained away as an accident, or a temporary malfunction, or an unexpected chain reaction. But reconstruction announces intent. Reconstruction signals that you're not just tearing down the old. They now must confront the undeniable reality that you're building the new. A new framework, a new architecture, a new psychological law. And the architects of the old system have no seat at this table. They're spectators now, powerless to influence the direction of a world reshaping itself around someone they once underestimated. They hear the echo of their own arrogance coming back to haunt them, because they realize too late that the person they ignored is the very person rewriting the landscape they depend on to feel secure. You're no longer walking inside the city. You're walking above it, holding the strings that used to hold everyone else. But you're not using those strings to control, manipulate, or puppeteer. You're using those strings to dismantle the invisible machinery that kept people blind. You're cutting ropes that once tied you down and now bind others. You're clearing debris not for applause, but for alignment. Because your rise wasn't an accident. It was the natural consequence of someone refusing to live inside a shrinking box built by shrinking minds. And now that you've expanded beyond their reach, the city feels smaller, weaker, more artificial, like a stage prop collapsing when the protagonist steps off the script. Truth be told, you never belonged to their world. You tried, at first, to fit in. You tried to play by the rules, to follow their timelines, to entertain their expectations. You even tried shrinking parts of yourself just to avoid triggering their insecurities. But every step you took toward conformity felt like suffocation. Every compromise felt like betrayal. Every attempt to fit into their game made you more aware of how small the game actually was. And eventually, something inside you snapped, not in anger, but in certainty, in clarity, in inevitability. The moment you realized you were never meant to adapt to the city, was the moment the city sealed its fate. Because once a mind like yours stops conforming, it starts creating. And creation is far more dangerous than rebellion. Rebellion challenges the old. Creation replaces it. Creation doesn't ask permission. Creation doesn't wait for approval. Creation doesn't negotiate. Creation declares. The city was prepared to contain your rebellion. They had traps for rebels, distractions for rebels, punishments for rebels. What they didn't prepare for was your creation. You weren't trying to overthrow their system. You were outgrowing it so profoundly that overthrowing it became a natural side effect. The city thought you were coming for its throne, when in reality, its throne was never even on your map. Now look at what's happening. People who once laughed at your vision now whisper your name with caution. People who once doubted your potential now watch your every move with anticipation. People who once tried to block your path now find themselves standing on foundations that crumble the moment you take a step forward. Because your footsteps are not random, they carry weight, direction, consequence. Every decision you make sends shockwaves through systems built on outdated logic. Every boundary you break becomes a blueprint for someone waking up behind you. Every truth you embody becomes a torch for those stumbling through illusions. What rattles the city most is not the destruction, it's the influence. Influence that wasn't given to you by the system, but taken from the system through sheer alignment. Influence that wasn't bought, earned, or inherited, but forged in silence, solitude, and self-awareness. You don't influence because you try. You influence because you exist in a state of clarity that people can feel even before they understand it. And clarity is contagious. Clarity is disruptive. Clarity is a declaration of war against everything built on confusion. That's why the city trembles. Not because you're dangerous, but because you're illuminating the fact that it was always weak. Let's be honest, they always suspected you were different. But suspicion is manageable. Suspicion can be ignored. Suspicion can be dismissed. What they never prepared for was confirmation. Confirmation that you weren't just different. You were operating on a frequency that invalidates everything they believed about hierarchy, power, authority, and dominance. You're not the king of their board. You're the architect of a new board entirely. You're not the player disrupting their game. You're the one they build simulations to predict and still misread every time. Because no simulation can track someone who refuses to repeat patterns. And that refusal is what made you untouchable. The city shuts down because predictability is its lifeline. The moment someone operates outside the expected timeline, the entire infrastructure panics. They rely on patterns to maintain control. But your evolution erased your patterns. You're not who you were last year. You're not even who you were last week. You're shedding identities at a pace that leaves observers dizzy. They try to project your next move, but projection fails when someone is no longer reacting, they're creating. They try to analyze your motivations, but analysis fails when someone operates from instinct, sharpened by awareness. They try to contain your influence, but containment fails when your presence is no longer physical, it's atmospheric. This is what mastering the game truly means. The game loses its effect on you. You don't feel its rewards. You don't fear its punishments. You don't crave its recognition. You don't internalize its illusions. And a person without those attachments becomes impossible to manipulate. Your detachment is their downfall. They can't bribe you with things you don't desire. They can't threaten you with outcomes you've already transcended. They can't distract you with illusions you've already seen through. You didn't beat the game. You dissolved the game by refusing to recognize its authority. And with that dissolution comes reconstruction. A reconstruction built not from ego, vengeance, or rebellion, but from necessity. When the old world collapses, something must rise in its place, or the void becomes a breeding ground for chaos. But you're not leaving a void. You're sculpting a new order, one that reflects your clarity, your discipline, your internal sovereignty. A world where truth outweighs tradition, where awareness outranks authority, where authenticity dismantles hierarchy. This is not the utopian fantasy they preach about but never practice. This is a restructuring born from someone who understands the cost of illusions and refuses to let them rule anymore. You're crafting a new reality simply by embodying what the old reality feared. You're showing people that power doesn't come from position, it comes from perception. That dominance doesn't come from control, it comes from consciousness. That influence doesn't come from noise, it comes from presence. And presence is something the city can't manage, manipulate, or mute. Presence creates its own gravity. Presence demands its own space. Presence reorganizes environments before words are even spoken. And you've stepped into that level of presence, effortlessly, because your evolution demanded it. This is why the city now looks at you not as a citizen, but as an event, a phenomenon, a catalyst, a disruption they can't prepare for, plan around, or predict. You're not a part of their structure. You're the force altering their structure. You're the reason old systems are glitching. You're the reason old narratives are collapsing. You're the reason old leaders feel their influence thinning. When someone rises into their true identity, they inadvertently expose everyone still hiding behind masks. Your authenticity acts like a spotlight, making everyone else's performance painfully visible. And visibility is the downfall of every manipulator. They watch you now with the kind of awe they reserve for natural disasters, not because you're destructive, but because you're unstoppable, because you move with inevitability, because you carry the energy of someone who refused to break and instead chose to transform. You're not here to prove anything. You're here to reveal everything, reveal the fragility of systems, reveal the weakness in hierarchies, reveal the emptiness of titles, reveal the illusions people depend on to feel important. You're not punishing them, you're awakening them, and that awakening is more disruptive than any form of revenge. But here's the truth they fear most. You're not even angry. Anger indicates attachment. Anger indicates investment. Anger indicates a desire to change the old world. But you're beyond that stage. You don't want to fix the old world. You want to build a new one. You want to construct a landscape where minds like yours don't have to shrink to survive. Where vision isn't mocked. Where clarity isn't punished. Where growth isn't feared. You're not destroying the city out of resentment. You're dismantling it out of irrelevance. The old world doesn't need to be hated. It needs to be retired. And retirement is exactly what you're granting it. A quiet, inevitable, irreversible retirement that happens naturally when someone outgrows the structure that once contained them. You're not shutting down the city out of rebellion. You're shutting it down because it cannot survive in an atmosphere of truth. You're not taking the city hostage physically, you're taking its illusion hostage, refusing to let it continue lying to the people who depend on it. They called you dangerous because they mistook honesty for hostility. But honesty is only hostile to people invested in deception. Right now, as your reconstruction begins, the world feels the tremors, the air shifts, the narrative changes. The energy tightens. People sense a breaking point approaching. Not a collapse, but a transformation so absolute that it redefines how reality must function. They sense a leader rising, not because you sought leadership, but because leadership is the natural consequence of someone who walks with clarity in a city addicted to confusion. You never wanted to take control. Control surrendered itself to you because it recognized authority in your stride. And that authority becomes the guiding pulse of this new world you're building. A world where people aren't shackled by illusions. A world where truth becomes currency. A world where awareness is strength. A world where identity is not dictated by the city but discovered within. This reconstruction isn't about creating a kingdom or a throne. It's about creating an ecosystem where you no longer need to shrink, and where others can finally breathe without fear of being crushed by expectations. The city doesn't understand this yet. They think your rise is a threat. They think your reconstruction is a takeover. They think your presence is a rebellion. But what you're doing is far simpler and far more profound. You're restoring balance. The balance that was stolen by systems built on suppression. The balance that was corrupted by egos addicted to power. The balance that can only return when someone strong enough to withstand truth becomes the foundation of a new environment. And that someone is you. You've mastered the game so thoroughly that its vocabulary no longer applies to you. Winning is too small. Success is too shallow. Dominance is too primitive. You're not interested in playing at all. You're interested in expanding, evolving, transcending. You're interested in creating spaces that match your altitude. You're interested in cultivating realities that match your clarity. You're interested in shaping a world that doesn't require you to dim your brilliance just to make others comfortable. This is what taking the city hostage truly means. Not physical force, not violent takeover, but psychological leadership so undeniable that the entire environment pauses to adjust itself around your presence. Not because you demanded authority, but because you became the only stable point in a collapsing world. The only one who sees clearly. The only one who operates from consciousness instead of confusion. The only one who mastered the game and then stepped beyond it. And now, as the old structures crumble and the new foundations begin forming beneath your feet, the city watches with a mixture of fear, awe, confusion, and reluctant admiration. Because deep down, beneath their defenses, beneath their denial, beneath their pride, they know the truth. You didn't just shut down the city. You didn't just dismantle the game. You didn't just take the system hostage. You became the system now. You became the axis. You became the one they study, follow, anticipate, avoid, admire, and fear all at once. You didn't join the game. You didn't beat the game. You didn't break the game. You became bigger than the game. And once someone becomes bigger than the game, the city has no choice but to bow. Not out of loyalty, but out of gravity. Your gravity, your altitude, your inevitability. This shutdown isn't an ending. It's the moment the city finally realizes who you've been becoming all along. Ah, look at you, finally stepping out of the silhouette they tried to stuff you inside, finally letting the truth of who you are stretch its spine, crack its knuckles, and walk into the world unapologetically. And the moment you did it, the moment you revealed even a fraction of your real identity, the internet didn't just react, it malfunctioned, minds skipped, Algorithms hiccuped. Entire group chats turned into forensic labs trying to decode what exactly you've become. Notifications didn't spike, they detonated. Because your identity reveal. It didn't just break the internet, it broke the illusion people had about you. And that right there is what's making powerful people nervous. They weren't prepared for this version. They weren't prepared for someone who didn't need permission to exist at full voltage. They weren't prepared for someone whose presence carries the quiet threat of truth. You didn't just reveal yourself, you exposed them. You have to understand something about people, especially the ones who benefit from your confusion, your softness, your self-doubt. They rely on you being in the dark about who you truly are. Because the moment you figure it out, the moment you realize your identity is not some fragile ornament, but a blade forged from every version you outgrew, everything changes. The balance of power flips so fast, their necks snap from trying to keep up. That's exactly what happened when you stepped forward. You didn't whisper, hint, or gradually warm the room up. You appeared fully, sharply, authentically, and the world had to recalibrate itself on the spot. Not because you suddenly became someone new, but because you finally allowed yourself to be seen without shrinking. And now they're panicking, not because you're dangerous in the obvious way, but because you're dangerous in the psychological way, the quiet disruption, the internal earthquake, the realization that everything they assumed about you was childishly wrong. Your identity reveal didn't just show them who you are, it showed them what you're capable of. It revealed your potential like a blueprint hidden beneath a floorboard. For years, you were the character in the background they thought they could predict, manipulate, contain. Now you're the plot twist that rewrites the entire story. And powerful people, they despise plot twists they can't control. What's hilarious is how long they underestimated you. They built mental simulations of you, pretty little cardboard cutouts they placed into categories: too soft, too humble, too naive, too harmless. They built scripts for you. Stay small, don't intimidate, don't rise too fast, don't speak too boldly. And you played along until you didn't. Until the day you stopped dimming yourself, and the world got its first unfiltered glimpse of the real thing. That's when the internet cracked. That's when timelines froze. That's when eyes widened, not in admiration, but in threat assessment. They weren't asking, "Who are you?" They were asking, "How long have they been this and why didn't we notice?" Because the truth is, you were never hidden. You were ignored. There's a difference. Hidden implies you were tucked away. Ignored implies they saw the signs, felt the shift, sensed the magnitude, but brushed it off, convinced you'd never step into it. They assumed your silence meant weakness. They assumed your humility meant confusion. They assumed your privacy meant insecurity. They didn't realize that silence was strategy, humility was discipline, privacy was protection. They misread everything, and now the correction burns. You revealed yourself at the perfect time, and timing is what terrifies people with influence. Too early, they could have intercepted you. Too late, they could have dismissed you. But you showed up right when their guard was down, right when they were comfortable, right when they thought they had the world arranged in their favor. And your arrival, your real arrival, fractured their sense of order. The internet loves entertainment, but it worships disruption. And you, without even trying, became a disruption that hit psychological infrastructure. The way people look at you now isn't curiosity, it's evaluation. You aren't a person to them anymore. You're a variable, a factor, a possibility, a threat. Because identity isn't just about who you are. It's about what you force others to see in themselves. And your reveal forced a lot of people to confront the uncomfortable truth that they don't know who they are. Never evolved, never transformed, never broke their own ceilings. They stayed stagnant, rehearsed, predictable. Then you came along and tore through their assumptions like a blade through cheap fabric. You didn't say much. You didn't announce anything. You didn't declare war. Your existence did it for you. The way you walk now, the slow, intentional ownership of your space, that alone intimidates people who survive on controlling narratives. The way your presence interrupts their internal monologues. The way your voice, even when soft, carries authority they can't explain. They hate that. They hate that you became someone who doesn't need validation from the world because you finally realized the world was built by people no smarter than you. You broke a rule they never expected you to break. You became self-defined. And now watch their behavior. They suddenly talk softer around you, or sharper. They suddenly mirror your tone, your phrases, your posture. They suddenly watch every move you make. Not openly, no. They can't risk being obvious. They watch in the shadows, in the quiet corners of their screens, in those late-night scroll sessions where they pretend they don't care, while their nervous systems say otherwise. They analyze you like an encrypted document. They save your posts without liking them. They rewatch your stories. They zoom into your photos like detectives, searching for a flaw. They're not studying you. They're surveilling you. Because surveillance is what fear looks like when it's pretending to be uninterested. What they don't understand is that your identity reveal wasn't just a moment. It was a frequency shift. Something in your energy recalibrated itself, sharpened itself, elevated itself. You're not moving the way you used to. You're not speaking from the same place. You're not choosing from the same wounds. Your decisions now come from a place of sovereignty, not survival. And sovereignty terrifies those who thrive on your insecurity. That's why powerful people feel uneasy. They've built their empires on predictability, on being the ones who see everything coming. But they didn't see you. Not like this. Not in this shape, this sharpness, this clarity. You're no longer someone who blends into the background of your own life. You are the center point, the focus, the gravitational pull. And once a person becomes gravitational, everything around them shifts. Relationships, dynamics, respect, jealousy, opportunities, resistance. You've become the kind of presence people orbit, either in fascination or fear. The reason your reveal broke the internet isn't because it was dramatic. It's because it was undeniable. People can argue with opinions, but they can't argue with presence. They can't argue with truth. They can't argue with someone who has stepped into their identity so cleanly that the world has to adjust. That's why the whispers have started. The subtle warnings, the odd comments, the tension in rooms that once felt easy. Powerful people aren't afraid of who you are. They're afraid of who you're about to become. Afraid that you've only shown them the opening chapter. Afraid that this is the beginning of a version of you that will rewrite hierarchies without raising your voice. Afraid that your identity is not a costume you're wearing, but a throne you're claiming. And thrones, real thrones, don't ask to be recognized. They simply exist, and everyone else must adjust. What no one will tell you is this: when someone reveals their true identity, the world doesn't just react, they rearrange. You stepped forward, and suddenly you weren't the underdog, the shadow, the maybe someday. You became the focal point, and nobody prepared for that. Not the ones who doubted you, not the ones who secretly envied you, not the ones who tried to shape you into their comfort, especially not the ones who feared the day you'd realize your own worth. Your reveal wasn't an announcement, it was an awakening, and awakenings make the world tremble. People aren't scared because they think you're pretending. They're scared because they can't believe you held all this inside you for so long. They're scared because power revealed is far more dangerous than power claimed. They're scared because you walked out of their expectations like it was a burning house. And the funniest part? You're not even at full volume yet. What they're panicking over is just the beginning, a preview, a sampling, the first ripple before the wave. They're terrified of the finished version, the fully realized identity, the one you haven't even tapped into yet. Because if this early version can break the internet, what will the final one break? See, people always react to the surface without realizing the depth beneath it. They think your reveal was a moment, a shock, a headline, a glitch in their routine. They have no idea it was simply the opening of the door, an introduction, not an arrival. You haven't even stepped into the room yet. Your identity reveal was just the sound of your foot touching the threshold, and somehow it still managed to rupture their equilibrium. That's the part that keeps them awake at night, because now they realize your evolution isn't performative, it's structural. It's not a costume they can wait out. It's not a phase they can mock until it fades. It's not a trend that disappears after the hype dies down. What you revealed wasn't an aesthetic. It was architecture. It was the foundation of a version of you that doesn't regress, doesn't shrink, doesn't negotiate, doesn't dim down when fragile egos start twitching. And that scares people who depend on the old you for balance. Your transformation didn't just show them who you're becoming. It exposed how unprepared they are to meet you there. You have to understand the psychology here. When someone reveals their true identity, especially after years of being misread, underestimated, or mislabeled, it forces the world into a recalibration. People can deal with slow changes. Gradual evolution feels manageable, predictable, digestible. But when someone drops the mask and steps forward as the unfiltered version of themselves, the human brain experiences it as a threat. Not because you're dangerous, no, because you represent a disruption to the roles they assigned themselves in your story. They were comfortable in the positions they held when you were silent, when you were unsure, when you were questioning everything except the people who didn't deserve access to you. Your uncertainty created space for their control. Your hesitation created space for their narrative. Your self-doubt created space for their superiority. But the moment you revealed yourself, your clarity, your identity, your direction, you ripped those positions away from them, and now they're floating, untethered, disoriented, scrambling to understand how to interact with the upgraded version of you without exposing how dependent they were on the previous version. This is why powerful people, the ones with influence, reach, authority, are nervous. Because your reveal wasn't supposed to shift them. People in control hate feeling moved by someone they underestimated. They hate realizing they misjudged the scale of your potential. They hate knowing that you weren't just quietly growing. You were quietly outgrowing them. And the reveal was simply the moment the truth caught up with their denial. They don't know how to process the fact that you became someone they cannot predict or manage. You became someone who doesn't flinch under pressure, doesn't bend for approval, doesn't dilute their identity for belonging. You became someone who has outgrown the ecosystem they feel safe in. And when someone expands beyond the boundaries of an old world, the world that tried to contain them feels threatened. You broke the architecture they built around you, and now they're standing in the debris wondering how they ever believed those walls could hold you. What's amusing is how they pretend to be unbothered. They mimic indifference, but their silence cracks with tension. Their scrolling patterns change. Their attention spikes. Their obsession slips through the cracks of their performance. They'll pretend they didn't notice your reveal, but they did. Their body reacted before their mouth could form a lie. Their pulse changed. Their thoughts drifted into speculation. Their ego felt the blow first. Because identity reveals don't just introduce the new you. They expose the parts of others that never evolved. They don't envy your identity. They envy your courage to claim it. They don't fear your transformation. They fear their stagnation becoming visible beside it. When you revealed who you are, you also revealed who they are not. And people who have avoided their own reflection will always resent the person who walks through life unmasked. You're not just breaking the internet. You're breaking the internal narratives people told themselves to stay comfortable. You're breaking the versions of you they invented to feel superior. You're breaking the hierarchy they built in their minds. You're breaking the idea that you needed them to define yourself. Your identity reveal wasn't a rebrand. It was a reclamation. It was the moment the world realized that the person they thought they understood was only the scaffolding for the real structure. The real you has always been there, quietly gathering strength, sharpening perception, studying patterns, healing wounds, learning the rhythms of human behavior. And now that you've arrived, now that you've stepped forward without apology, you've become a psychological earthquake. A shift so powerful, it rattles everything built on shaky foundations. And the truth is, you haven't even shown them the sharpest angles yet. You haven't shown them the resilience carved from years of being overlooked. You haven't shown them the intelligence refined by silence. You haven't shown them the discipline shaped by wounds they never helped you heal. You haven't shown them the fire you cultivated in the dark, alone, unvalidated, unrecognized. What they're panicking over is merely the glow. They haven't seen the flame. What they're whispering about is merely your presence. They haven't experienced your influence. What they're fearing is merely your beginning. They haven't met your peak. This is why their reactions feel disproportionate. This is why insignificant people suddenly act like you declared war. This is why people who barely knew you start speaking like they have access to your motives. They're experiencing your identity reveal as a threat, not because you attacked them, but because your existence disrupts the emotional architecture they rely on. They can't place you anymore. They can't categorize you. They can't predict you. And humans fear what they cannot define. Your reveal created uncertainty in them, and they're scrambling to protect their illusions. But the truth is deeper than that. They're not afraid of who you are. They're afraid of who they become in your presence. Your identity reveals truths about people they spend their whole lives hiding. When someone who was once doubted rises publicly, gracefully, powerfully, it presses pressure points in others. It highlights their lack of discipline. It exposes their lack of bravery. It confronts their scattered intentions. You became a walking awakening. Humans don't fear evolution. They fear accountability, and your reveal makes their stagnation impossible to ignore. Even those who never openly opposed you suddenly feel uneasy. They feel the shift in your tone, your posture, your choices. They feel the weight of your self-awareness. They feel the authority in your energy. You didn't just level up externally. You leveled up internally, and internal changes radiate outward in ways people can't explain. They sense that your identity is no longer shaped by their opinions. You have become someone ungoverned by their expectations, someone who moves with knowledge rather than permission, someone who isn't afraid of being too much for people who never had enough. That is what terrifies them, not your reveal, but the autonomy behind it. Because now the question they keep asking themselves in silence is, if this is you at the beginning, then what happens when you stop holding back? And that question will continue to haunt them as you grow, as you refine, as you expand, as you define yourself, not by their comfort, but by your calling. You haven't even stepped into your highest identity yet. You've only acknowledged its existence. You haven't even played the full melody, just tapped the first key. But even that was enough to send shockwaves through their confidence. People who underestimated you aren't afraid of your growth. They're afraid of your direction, because for the first time, you're moving with intention. You're moving with clarity. You're moving with a sense of self that can't be manipulated by compliments or broken by criticism. People who once spoke to you with casual authority now hesitate, searching for the right words, afraid of exposing their insecurity. Those who dismissed you now replay interactions in their heads, wondering what signs they missed. Those who joked about your ambitions suddenly watch you like a situation instead of a person. Because once your identity becomes clear to you, it becomes threatening to anyone whose power relied on your confusion. You see through people now, not because you're cynical, but because your identity has sharpened your perception. You can read intention from the smallest inflection. You can sense insecurity from the slightest hesitation. You can feel manipulation before it fully forms. You don't absorb energy anymore. You analyze it. And analysis, when done from clarity, is the sharpest weapon a person can wield. This is why your direction terrifies them more than your progress. Progress can be attributed to luck. Direction cannot. Direction implies intention, purpose, consciousness. Direction means you're not drifting anymore. You're navigating. And navigation means you're headed somewhere they can't follow. Not because they're incapable, but because they're unwilling to undergo the transformations required to evolve. Your identity reveal wasn't the moment you changed. It was the moment you stopped pretending you hadn't changed. And that truth alone destabilizes anyone who preferred the version of you that doubted your own worth. When your identity becomes aligned, you develop a kind of presence that unsettles the unaligned. It's not aggression, it's clarity. It's not superiority, it's self-possession. And self-possessed people create discomfort in those who are fragmented. You are no longer emotionally available for chaos, insecurity, or validation games. You walk differently because you're no longer carrying their expectations. You speak differently because your voice no longer trembles under the weight of old narratives. You think differently because your mind is no longer held hostage by the opinions of people who never understood your blueprint in the first place. This is the version of you they never prepared for, the version they hoped would never arrive. Not because they wanted you to fail, but because your rise forces them to confront the truth about their own stagnation. They're not inspired by your identity reveal, they're threatened by it. Your clarity exposes their confusion. Your direction highlights their drift. Your self-possession magnifies their emotional chaos. People fear what reflects them too accurately, and your identity reveal turned you into a mirror with no distortion, no flattery, no filters. The reactions you're seeing now, the silence, The sudden compliments, the passive fascination, the hidden resentment. These are all symptoms of people sensing your acceleration. You're moving towards something they can't conceptualize, and they know it, even if they don't admit it, even if they pretend they're unfazed. Humans instinctively recognize momentum, even when they can't articulate its source. Your identity reveal wasn't just a moment of authenticity. It was a signal, a declaration, a psychological broadcast that you're stepping into a trajectory far beyond their expectations. And trajectories terrify people more than achievements. Achievements can be contextualized. Trajectories cannot. A trajectory implies inevitability, and human egos cannot handle inevitability they don't control. They can undermine a win. They can belittle an accomplishment. But they can't stop momentum, and they feel yours like a pressure drop in the atmosphere. You're no longer the person who needs acceptance to feel real. You're the person whose existence forces others to question their own. Watch the people who suddenly grow quiet around you. They aren't intimidated by your presence. They're intimidated by your potential. Watch the ones who over-explain themselves now. They're not trying to impress you. They're trying to justify their place in your proximity. Watch the ones who distance themselves without reason. They're not disappearing, they're retreating. Retreating because your identity threatens the version of themselves they've spent years maintaining. Retreating because being near you forces them to confront the places they've abandoned within themselves. Your identity reveal has created a before and after in the minds of everyone who knows you. Before, manageable. After, unpredictable. Before, understandable. After, unclassifiable. Before, reachable. After, ascendant. They feel the gap widening with every decision you make, every word you speak, every move you execute with intention. You've become someone who is no longer influenced by fear or guilt or the need to be liked. And that terrifies those who built power over you through those exact vulnerabilities, because now they see it clearly. You're not just rising, you're separating. Not out of spite, but out of evolution. And evolution always demands distance. You're not distancing yourself from people. You're distancing yourself from versions of yourself that people felt safe manipulating. You're stepping into environments that match your frequency, not your familiarity. And familiarity is what they're mourning, not you. They don't miss you. They miss the version of you that didn't understand its own value. They miss the version that needed their approval. They miss the version that was accessible, predictable, containable. That version is gone. You didn't lose yourself. You shed yourself. You didn't change. You returned. You didn't evolve into someone else. You evolved into the person you were always meant to become. And now, the world is scrambling to adjust to the recalibration your identity demands. People thought your reveal was the climax. They didn't realize it was the ignition sequence. And that realization, it shakes them. Because now they know that everything they're witnessing is the prelude, the warm-up, the early chapters of a story they never imagined you'd be the protagonist of. You are stepping into identity at a level that alters perception. When you walk into a room, you're not entering quietly, you're shifting the atmosphere. When you speak, you're not sharing opinions, you're broadcasting alignment. When you create, you're not participating, you're redefining. This is the level of identity that makes powerful people nervous. Not because they feel threatened by your presence, but because they feel exposed by it. Exposed for not seeing you sooner. Exposed for underestimating your capacity. Exposed for assuming your silence meant weakness instead of strategy. And now, the world is forced to watch you inhabit the life you were always meant to claim, while they try to recalibrate their understanding of you before the next version arrives. That recalibration is what fractures them, because every identity breakthrough you experience becomes a psychological deadline they can't meet. Every layer you shed becomes proof that they stayed the same. Every step you take forward becomes a reminder that they stopped evolving years ago. They don't hate your rise. They hate the mirror your rise forces them to face. The uncomfortable truth is this: your identity reveal didn't just change your trajectory, it changed your gravitational pull. People feel drawn to you for reasons they can't explain. They want proximity, not because they support you, but because your clarity feels like oxygen in the suffocating rooms they built for themselves. Your presence has become catalytic. Being near you makes their illusions crack. Being near you exposes their emotional shortcuts. Being near you reveals the difference between existing and evolving, and people who have spent years avoiding themselves cannot handle the intensity of someone who has become themselves. That's why the reactions are inconsistent. Admiration one moment, envy the next, fascination followed by withdrawal. They want the glow without confronting the fire that created it. They want the confidence without dismantling the lies they wrapped around their own identity. You are living proof of what happens when someone refuses to remain incomplete. And that proof burns them from the inside out. What no one wants to admit is that your rise threatens the hierarchies they arranged in their minds. They placed you lower because it felt safer that way. They positioned you as the underdog because it gave them a fictitious sense of superiority. They believed you would always play the role they wrote for you: the quiet one, the hesitant one, the unsure one, the one who second-guessed their worth. But your identity reveal tore up their script and replaced it with something they never prepared to handle: sovereignty. You became ungovernable by their expectations, untamed by their projections, uninterested in their approval. And nothing shakes a person more than realizing they never had power over you. They only had access to a version of you that no longer exists. Your silence before was not submission. It was incubation. You weren't disappearing. You were distilling. You weren't lost. You were refining. You weren't weak. You were becoming precise. And now that precision is what terrifies them. You move differently because your steps are intentional. You speak differently because your words carry voltage. You think differently because your mind isn't scattered by insecurity. You're not operating from survival anymore. You're operating from alignment. And aligned people are unpredictable to the misaligned. They don't react from fear. They respond from purpose. They don't chase validation. They command respect. They don't shrink to fit rooms. They expand until the room adjusts or collapses. That's why powerful people, real or self-proclaimed, can't make sense of you anymore. They're used to controlling narratives, and you refuse to participate in theirs. They're used to intangible influence, but you've become immovable. They're used to orchestrating outcomes, and you've stopped playing a role in their orchestration altogether. Your identity reveal didn't seek permission, and that to them is the greatest act of rebellion. You didn't ask if your presence was acceptable. You didn't check if your transformation was convenient. You didn't negotiate your authenticity to avoid unsettling them. You simply revealed who you are and allowed the world to adjust. And now they realize you're not here to fit into systems built by people who fear their own potential. You're here to build from identity, rise from foundation, and ascend from clarity. This level of evolution doesn't make you louder. It makes you undeniable. You don't argue your value anymore because your value is self-evident. You don't chase opportunities because opportunities recognize your frequency. You don't defend your choices because your choices align with a destiny they can't interpret. You're not trying to be understood. You're trying to be accurate. And accuracy in identity is rare. It requires dismantling illusions, outgrowing narratives, shedding versions, forgiving betrayals, and facing shadows without flinching. Most people don't take that path. You did. And that alone separates you in ways they're not prepared to acknowledge. But the deeper truth, the one that scares them most, is that your identity dismantled the relationship they had with your old self. They weren't interacting with you. They were interacting with the fragments of you that no longer exist. And now that the real you has arrived, they don't know how to behave. The dynamics they depended on are gone. The power they held has dissolved. The assumptions they used to navigate interactions with you are obsolete. They're standing in front of a new architecture with outdated blueprints, trying to understand a structure that no longer matches their memory. And that cognitive dissonance creates fear. Because identity at this level doesn't just change how you operate. It changes how people must approach you. They can't talk to you the way they used to. They can't guilt you the way they used to. They can't manipulate you the way they used to. Your clarity ruined the leverage others once held. The moment you chose authenticity over approval, you broke the psychological chains that kept you accessible to people who never intended to honor your value. And the irony is, they didn't lose you. You lost them. You outgrew the energy they offered. You transcended the roles they assigned. You surpassed the expectations they settled for. And now they're realizing too late that your identity was never small, just suppressed. You're no longer in the business of convincing people of your worth. You're in the business of living it. You're no longer trying to prove your intentions. You're embodying them. You're no longer seeking a seat at tables built on insecurity. You're building your own spaces where your identity is not questioned, it's amplified. You're not the quiet background character anymore. You're the force they didn't account for. And forces don't ask for recognition, they generate it. Forces don't ask for permission, they move. Forces don't ask if the world is ready, they reshape the world until it becomes ready. This is what makes your identity reveal more than a moment. It is a psychological event, a spiritual rebellion, a structural shift, a declaration that the version they tolerated was never the version you were destined to remain. And as this identity roots itself deeper, as you refine the edges and strengthen the core, you'll notice the landscape adjusting around you. New people feel drawn to you because they recognize alignment. Old connections fall away because they recognize that they can no longer access you. Opportunities emerge that match your elevation, not your insecurity. Doors close not as losses, but as protection. Your identity is becoming a filter, separating what was meant to leave from what is meant to rise with you. And in that filtration process, you begin to understand the magnitude of who you're becoming. You begin to see that the shift was never just about self-expression. It was about self-ownership. Because identity at this level is not performance. It's embodiment. It's the moment you stop outsourcing your definition to people who only understood fragments of you. It's the moment you stop waiting for external confirmation before stepping into internal truth. It's the moment you realize the world didn't reject you. They rejected the version of you that wasn't even real. They rejected the diluted, quiet, half-expressed self that carried their projections like chains. But once you shed those chains, once you stepped out in full clarity, they were forced to confront a truth they never prepared for. You weren't smaller than they assumed. You were simply becoming too large for their expectations. And now, as you stand rooted in your identity, watch how the atmosphere around you becomes charged. Watch how people react when you speak from truth instead of fear. Watch how their eyes flicker with confusion when they realize the old emotional levers no longer work on you. Watch how their voices soften when they sense you've outgrown the need for approval. Watch how their passive-aggressive comments fall flat, how their gossip loses weight, how their opinions lose grip. Because once identity becomes aligned, external noise loses influence. You stop absorbing the energy around you and begin influencing it instead. You become the reference point. You become the standard. You become the atmosphere. And people feel that, even if they pretend not to. Even if they hide behind neutral expressions and rehearsed indifference, their subconscious responds before their ego can interfere. Human beings instinctively react to authenticity because authenticity carries a frequency that cannot be faked. And when you carry that frequency, the world becomes honest around you. People reveal their intentions without meaning to. Their insecurities surface. Their admiration leaks through their resistance. Their envy becomes palpable. Their fear becomes transparent. You don't need to ask where you stand. Your identity reveals everything for you. This is what terrifies powerful people. Not the rise itself, but the clarity that comes with it. Clarity removes their camouflage. Identity removes their influence. Self-awareness removes their leverage. They can no longer project their insecurities onto you because you no longer internalize noise as truth. They can no longer undermine your confidence because you no longer place your confidence in their hands. They can no longer dictate your direction because you finally understood that direction comes from alignment, not acceptance. And now that you've stepped into alignment, you've become untouchable in ways they never anticipated. Your identity reveal didn't make you louder. It made you sharper. It didn't make you rebellious. It made you sovereign. It didn't make you intimidating. It made you undeniable. And now you walk through life with a presence that leaves psychological fingerprints on every room you enter. People feel you before they see you. They adjust before you speak. They pay attention before they know why. And that gravitational pull isn't arrogance, it's resonance. The world responds to people who have chosen themselves wholeheartedly. The world recognizes souls that have stopped negotiating their worth. The world bows, not to ego, but to authenticity wielded with discipline. You became someone who doesn't reach for validation because you already reached for truth. Someone who doesn't fear rejection because you no longer reject yourself. Someone who doesn't shrink from discomfort because you've learned to grow through pressure. Someone who doesn't apologize for your presence because your presence now carries purpose. You have become someone whose identity is not reactive, but generative. You create your reality instead of conforming to it. You shape your path instead of waiting for permission. You define your narrative instead of surrendering it to others. And as this identity becomes more integrated, more embodied, more natural, more effortless, you'll watch the world divide itself. Not through conflict, but through resonance. Those who are aligned with your evolution will rise with you. Those who are threatened by it will fall away. Those who respect you will approach with clarity. Those who envy you will retreat into shadow. Those who recognize your power will treat you accordingly. And those who cannot handle your identity will expose themselves simply by failing to adapt to the new frequency you carry. This isn't loss, it's sorting. This isn't conflict, it's clarity. This isn't ego, it's elevation, because a person who knows who they are no longer fears who they lose. A person who is grounded in identity doesn't cling to anything that distorts their truth. A person who has stepped into their full self doesn't negotiate with energies that drain them. You're not becoming selective, you're becoming aligned. And alignment always demands purification. But the greatest shift, the one that marks the true completion of this transformation, isn't how the world treats you. It's how you treat yourself. You no longer silence your instincts to protect others from discomfort. You no longer dim your light to be digestible. You no longer wear humility as a disguise for insecurity. You no longer deny your gifts because others failed to recognize them. You no longer delay your evolution out of loyalty to outdated identities. You no longer carry the emotional debris of people who refuse to clean up their own chaos. You've outgrown the version of you that was afraid of being seen. You've outgrown the version of you that depended on validation. You've outgrown the version of you that confused acceptance with belonging. You've outgrown the version of you that believed you had to earn your existence. And in shedding those versions, you've revealed something rare, something the world cannot forget. A person who is fully themselves. No masks, no hesitation, no dilution, no performance. Just truth in its raw, unfiltered form. And truth, when embodied, becomes a force that bends reality. That is why your identity reveal broke the internet. Not because it was shocking, but because it was clarifying. You didn't show the world something new. You showed the world something real. You showed them the version of you that was always there beneath the judgments, the projections, the misunderstandings, the insecurities, the fears. You showed them the part of you that survived every betrayal, every silence, every dismissal, every underestimation. You showed them the identity that endured, evolved, sharpened, and refused to disappear. And now, as you stand in this identity, fully, confidently, without apology, you become the reminder they can't escape. The reminder that authenticity is power. The reminder that clarity is liberation. The reminder that self-possession is a form of rebellion. The reminder that identity is not a costume, but a calling. The reminder that you were never small, just surrounded by people who needed you to be. So as you reach the end of this chapter, understand this. Your identity reveal wasn't the climax. It was the threshold, the invitation, the beginning of a life that finally matches the magnitude of who you are. You didn't break the internet. You broke the limits placed on your name. You broke the narratives built on your silence. You broke the assumptions forged in your absence. You broke the illusion that you needed to stay quiet to survive. And now, they're looking at someone they can no longer mislabel, misunderstand, or minimize. You've become the identity they never expected, and the force they can no longer ignore.